Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good evening. There are seats. I know people are asking for more seats. There's a couple. Please feel free to come up and sit closer to the front. Thank you for being here. My name is Evan Wildstein. I'm the Director of Performing Arts and Culture here at Asia Society Texas Center. Show of hands. First time to the building? Wow. So the Alejandro Chaoul fan club. Excellent. You can sign up outside. Again, my name is Evan. We are so proud to be the host for Dr. Chaoul's program this evening. Just about a year ago, we hosted him for more of a lecture-style program, and this evening you'll actually get to see him do, I think, what he enjoys the most and lead you through a practice. He's a longtime friend of Asia Society Texas Center and become somewhat of a friend to me, so thank you for being here. A few acknowledgments this evening. With that applause, we can certainly give applause. A few acknowledgments this evening. We're very happy to have a partner in MD Anderson Cancer Center and Friends of Integrative Medicine. Kira and the entire staff are fantastic, and Gabe, my new friend, will tell you a bit about their program and also why this program today is on February 4th in just a minute. We'd also really like to thank MasterWord Services and their team for generously providing the post-program reception, just some light bites out in the Water Garden Terrace. In addition, support for programs like this comes from a number of places without which we could not host you here. Houston, City of Houston, the Houston Arts Alliance, Bank of America, Cullen Trust for the Performing Arts, the Favreau Fund, Mickey Rosenau and Dr. Ellen Gritz. Please join me in thanking them for their support. A kind reminder for housekeeping, please silence your cell phones, and please try not for photography or videography for the respect of your fellow guests and Dr. Chaoul. Following the program, again, there will be a small reception out on the Water Garden Terrace. You'll get to meet Alejandro. And we also, when you leave, please don't forget to grab one of these guided meditation CDs that Dr. Chaoul recorded here at Asia Society we have for you this evening. I'd like now to turn it over for some brief remarks by Dr. Lopez from MD Anderson. Please join me in welcoming him.
Good evening. Welcome to all of you. It's so wonderful to see such an inspired audience this evening on World Cancer Day. On behalf of the Friends of Integrative Medicine and MD Anderson, I'd like to introduce Dr. Alejandro Chaoul for this evening. Friends of Integrative Medicine is a group of caregivers, patients, as well as members of the community that are interested in the importance of cancer prevention and really enhancing the experience of patients that are receiving cancer care. The event that we're having this evening is actually one of the events that are part of Friends of Integrative Medicine throughout the year. There are certain member-only events as well that do occur throughout the year, and the effort is to connect cancer prevention and cancer awareness not only in the hospital but also in the community. So I would like to introduce Dr. Alejandro Chaoul as well. I am one of the physicians in integrative medicine and integrative oncology at our center, and Dr. Chaoul is a extremely important member of our team. We have interdisciplinary meetings every week, and Dr. Chaoul participates in these meetings where we discuss patient needs and really try to see how we can integrate different approaches that would be considered non-conventional. And so meditation is one of the important approaches that we do discuss with patients, especially in circumstances when they're needing some extra assistance with focusing through using different approaches, sound, breath, and movement. And so I hope that this evening that Dr. Chaoul, Alejandro, will be able to introduce you all to some of his experience with meditative practice. So thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Evan. Nice to be here. Such a beautiful place. And nice to be here again at Asia Society. And as Evan said, last time it was more of a lecture, my book, and today it's more of a little bit of a talk, but more of a practice. Now, as Evan said, please silence your phones, or as I like to say, please put them in meditation mode. That will be better for you and for those around you. Also, I would recommend you to just take a deep breath and invite yourself to be here. This may sound a little odd, but so much of our time we're not where we are. In fact, research says that 48% of the time we're not where we are. We're somewhere else. So if I ask you now, where are you? You may say Asia Society, but really, where are you? You might be like, did I park in the right place? They said it's a reception. What kind of food is there then? What is this guy going to talk about? So partly is come back. One way of coming back is the breath, and we'll use the breath tonight as a kind of communicate your mind to be back here and now with your body. So this talk, I call it meditation is the medicine of the mind. That some of you who know me, that's my kind of my hashtag, my tagline in my email. And it's something that I find a very nice phrase for what I feel I do day in and day out. Now, I also have to admit, being a kind of a scholar in meditation, where my sources come from. So this particular meditation is the medicine of the mind didn't come from an old Tibetan text, but actually came from a tea bag. And so I adopted it from there. So what is meditation? So meditation, traditionally, in some traditions, like in the Indian tradition, they use this word bhavana, which means kind of cultivating a particular state of mind. In the Tibetan tradition, which is more the one that I'm familiar with, we say gom, which means familiarity, related to the word kom, familiarity. Familiarity both with the method that we learn, as well as with the experience that we have with that method. Now, meditation, there's many, many different kinds of meditation. Just in the Tibetan tradition, we say there's 84,000 different kinds of meditation. So, if you don't like today's meditation, there's another 83,999 out there for you. So there'll be many opportunities for you to do that. So, meditation, for some people, it's something that you start it grows into you. How many of you have done any kind of meditation? Wonderful, wonderful. How many of you are able to practice it on a regular basis? It's normal. So a lot of times we get introduced to a practice and we like it, but then it's hard to bring it into our everyday life. That's what we see in our integrative medicine program in terms of how do we change our behavior? How do we include this for better lifestyle? Now, for me, meditation was something that came, I got introduced in high school. I was in Argentina, where I'm originally from. It's a very Catholic country. I come from a Jewish family. I was in a Presbyterian school. And actually, a friend of mine, Diego, his uncle practiced TM, Transcendental Meditation. And so he said, maybe you would like this. And I started doing that, and I thought it was very, very interesting. They gave me a secret mantra, so I can't tell you. But I practiced that for a while. And then when I was in college, I actually moved. I was a transfer student here in the US, and I was able to experience other practices. I was able to experience Zen. I actually went cooking with the Hare Krishna and learned some of that as well. And also started learning different Asian traditions. Especially I remember a professor called Daud Rabar, who really explored religions of the East. And this really kind of put my little bug about Asian traditions. And also I became very good friends with many Indian friends there, international students. And that's really what led me that when I graduated, I went to India. And I went to India just to visit. I thought I'll be there for a month. I stayed almost a year. And I was really looking for a meditation teacher. And so what I did is first I explored more the Indian tradition and had a wonderful teacher, Chinmayananda, Swami Chinmayanandaji. And then I really became more interested in the Tibetan tradition. I met His Holiness the Dalai Lama, And then I met my first personal teacher, Yeshe Dorje Rinpoche, whom I talked about last time I was here. And then I met these wonderful teachers. These have been my teachers for over 20 years. Yongtsen Tenzin Namdak on the right, and his student and teacher also, Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche, who actually was here last weekend. Lopon is almost turning 90 this year, and he lives in Nepal, in Jita Norbutse Monastery. And I had the opportunity of meeting him in '91, and ever since became one of my root teachers. And then a couple of years later, I met Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche. And then I started seeing them together. When I saw them together the first time, it was in '93. And I remember seeing them teaching and also discussing and not always agreeing. I thought, that's neat. And when they were teaching, it was like what we call the refuge tree. This lineage was coming alive. And I said, this is where I belong. So luckily, I've been continuing study with them. I had that opportunity. And in a way, this is a picture that I took in 2000 in Trita Norbutse of them looking at a particular text and discussing, and then we were working on that. That was working on my dissertation. So this is what I think when I think of meditation. But also, medicine is something that is an important aspect of the Tibetan tradition. This is what we call the Buddha of medicine, and he lives in a place, or she lives in a place, in this place. It's a mandala. It's the Medicine Buddha mandala. And if you can see that mandala, he or she is at the center, and then around him or her, there's all these other practitioners. And then all these different medicines. And so, in one hand, you can think of this as being the great doctor, having all its other doctors and practitioners, and having at their need all these medicines. But I also see this as what we do in integrative medicine. And at the center is our patient. And we want optimum health for the patient. In Tibetan medicine, as in many ancient medicines, it's not a medicine just for the body, but it's the medicine for the body, for the mind, for the spirit. And so when we think of the people we serve at MD Anderson in integrative medicine, we think we want optimum health at all these realms. And so around them are all of us looking and thinking and working and practicing towards their optimum health. Like Gabe, Dr. Lopez mentioned, every Thursday, so tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, we'll be meeting. And we are in a table, not square, but rectangular, and we're all meeting. We have the massage therapist, we have the acupuncturist, we have the mind-body person, we have the oncologist, we have the music therapist, we have the psychologist, we have the chaplains, we have all around, and we're talking about both the patients and the caregivers. And so we have at our disposal all these different things that we can use for them. So that's my view of how what I learn kind of on the Tibetan side can also be helpful for what I'm bringing into integrative medicine. Now, I remember in the first visit of His Holiness Dalai Lama to South America, I was lucky to be one of the coordinators. And I was able to travel after Argentina to Chile and Venezuela with him. And I remember being in Chile, sitting with him, and he said, Tibetan medicine, it's another way of really connecting people, of really thinking of more than just the mind and the body, but really a sense of connectedness. And so I always kept that in mind. I never thought I actually would be working at a hospital, because then when I did my PhD, it was at Rice and it was on religious studies. And then I guess I was able to cross across the street. And the reason I crossed was actually because my dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And he's well. Actually, he's flying in tonight to visit. But that's what led me to start volunteering at MD Anderson. And I started a meditation class after I asked my teachers, would that be okay? And actually, another teacher, Namkhar Rinpoche, had just diagnosed with cancer. So I spoke to him too, as what would be the best class to do that? And so I started that class 15 years ago. They still haven't kicked me out. And it continues every Tuesday, and it's actually open to anyone touched by cancer, 9:30 a.m. every Tuesday. And so in a way, when I think of these practices, it's like bringing what we learn in the caves to the clinic. And in the caves, these are their views. This is actually from a trip that we did with Rinpoche to Tibet. And when I saw that, I understood why in so many texts in Tibet they talk about space, and there's so many words about space. And many times, mind, when we talk about mind, actually it's related to space. Now, there's in a way kind of two kinds of mind. So we spoke a little bit about meditation, medicine, now we're going to mind. So there's two kinds of mind. One is when we point here. This mind, many times in our tradition, we call it our monkey mind. The mind that goes from thought to thought, emotion to emotion. That's the 48% of the time that we're distracted. But the other part is being here. And when we're here, can we drop in, as John Kabat-Zinn would say, kind of being really centered. And in a way, it's like feeling it here. And this mind, sometimes we call the heart mind. Some of the Asian traditions, like in Sanskrit, they would call it chitta. In Tibetan, we would call it sem. And it's really being connected to that heart mind. And so when I see this picture, it's like, I wish I had this view from my office. I keep on putting it to see if someone at MD Anderson changes my office. And I also understand why the texts are written in that way, and why the papers we write are very different, because we have different views. Today we have quite a nice view here. But also, one of the things that I really inspired me in the Tibetan and the Buddhist tradition in general is this aspect of inquiry, that you don't just take things as they're told, but you really think about them. See if they make sense to you. And if they do, as Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche would say, you can practice it. And if you don't, press the delete button and don't worry about it. So this is another way of saying what you can see here in that slide. So meditation has been in many different magazines, in kind of popular magazines, and becoming more and more popular. But also what's interesting is the dialogue that has been going on. And that's His Holiness the Dalai Lama in his place in Dharamsala, together with Francisco Varela, a Chilean neurobiologist who now passed away, and also Alex Bersin and others who are Buddhologists. And these are dialogues that have been going on between meditative traditions and sciences. And as the Dalai Lama says in that phrase, it's spirituality and the sciences are both inquiring, and they're inquiries into looking for the truth from different perspectives, but they both can actually complement each other. And so there's been dialogues going on with the Mind and Life Institute and others that now are coming from that office of the Dalai Lama, that living room, to the West into big auditoriums. So that was at MIT, that was the first one, and there were like 3,500 seats, and I remember being there, and they sold out in 2 days. Today, the last one that they did in Boston, we were 7,000 people. So more and more people are interested in these dialogues. And there's been research. And I mentioned Herbert Benson was one of the pioneers of research in mind-body. And I mentioned transcendental meditation. That was his first research, and that's where he coined the relaxation response. The relaxation response was really different than your usual stressful response, which we call the fight-or-flight response. That instead, he said, through meditation, you can be relaxed and not react to that situation and really cope with it much better. And then he started looking into other meditative traditions, and he found one Tibetan tradition called Tumo that was inner heat. And so here you see this illustration of the Lulakang in Lhasa in Tibet, behind the potala, which basically says that these practitioners are holding their breath and doing different meditations, and fire comes out of their head, which actually means that actually they were raising their heat. And he was able to publish this in 1982, that actually they were raising their heat by just doing this meditation. And these were people that were half naked in very cold temperatures, and they were able to raise their heat. So, as I was saying, in integrative medicine, we think beyond the biomedicine. And there was a seminal article by George Engel in 1977 that he was saying, let's go beyond the biomedicine. Yes, biomedicine has fantastic tools, has antibiotics, has the technologies growing, but what about not just the physical aspect of oneself? What about the social aspect? What about the psycho-spiritual? All three get to health. And this is the model that we use at our integrative medicine. And you see all the different practices that relate to the body, all the practices that we do social, including group practices, and also the psycho-spiritual, where these kind of practices, mind-body practices, would be part of. And so, together with the Ligmincha Institute, which is the institute that Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche founded, we have done research on this Tibetan yoga practices, which was actually part of my dissertation as well, that because it took me so long to finish, actually, when we finally published our first article in 2004, it was part of the dissertation. But we continued doing research. We were able to be funded by NCI, the National Cancer Institute, continuing in doing, looking at the effects of Tibetan yoga in women with breast cancer undergoing chemotherapy, looking at their fatigue and sleep. We're also doing other kind of research in Hatha yoga, in Tai Chi and Qigong. And so we're still looking at all different kinds of mind-body practices. But also another aspect that is happening is about connection and about caregivers. It's not just about the patients. Actually, we have a new faculty member, Dr. Milbury, who's doing a lot of help in this area of caregivers. So we're looking at practices, for example, Tibetan yoga in lung cancer patient and their caregiver. Now, it's a big group, and I'll show a lot of the people that collaborate with, under the head of Dr. Lorenzo Cohen, who sometimes we do this talk on meditation is the medicine of the mind together. And then kind of what's happening at the mind level, because a lot of times they say, yeah, okay, it's easy to relax, and maybe your blood pressure goes down, you're a little less stressed, but what about the mind? And so Richie Davidson in University of Wisconsin started really looking at what's happening in the mind of these great practitioners. And on the other side, you have Mathieu Ricard, who's a French biologist who, after getting his PhD, decided to go to the Himalayas and study 20 years with this great teacher, Digo Chenzo Rinpoche. And then Richie brought him back, and they started looking at his brain, and they realized he was amazing, and he was really happy. Actually, he was named the happiest man on earth. And he has a book called Happiness, which I actually highly recommend, and sometimes I teach to my medical students. But then we were looking, so what can we look in cancer in terms of the brain? And one of the things that happens is that cognitive impairment, that what we call sometimes chemobrain, due to chemotherapy, reduction of aspects of memory and cognitive function. And so we decided to do, together with Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche and a postdoc that was with us, Kelly Biegler, looking at these practices that I was doing already with faculty. And she said, this could be a great practice to look at chemobrain. And these are with sounds. So as Dr. Lopez was saying, sometimes we have practices with breath, sometimes we have practices with sound, sometimes we have practice with movement. So this is the practice with sound that actually we do every second Tuesday of the month at MD Anderson. And in a way, these practices are done with the syllables because they're called warrior syllables, because they can be very strong to really be able to release some of these, what sometimes we call obstacles, which could be emotional, mental, even spiritual. And this is the paper that we published last year on this first study on Tibetan sound meditation for women undergoing chemotherapy, women with breast cancer undergoing chemotherapy. And now we have a larger study that we're looking both here at MD Anderson and in a sister institution in Brazil, the Einstein Hospital there. So we look at different emotions and how we can actually bring them into balance. And so if you can see the colors, they're also the colors of the elements. So you can see that you have ignorance or unawareness gets clarity, and then anger gets love, and then attachments, generosity, and envy we gets openness, proud gets openness, and then jealousy, pride gets peacefulness, and then jealousy gets openness. And then this is a way of seeing it all together. If you see at the center, that's the Tibetan letter A, and it's white, which means space, space and light. And then the 5 elements in harmony. And in a way, that's the way that we see ourselves. The 5 elements can represent also at the level of the body. The earth represents our flesh and bones. And the fire represents the heat in our body. The water represents the fluids, including blood. And then the air represents our breath. And then space represents our mind, our consciousness. So when we are in harmony, this is kind of how it looks. This is an important symbol in our tradition. I want to use this as a way of coming into our meditation practice today. And in a way, part of what we try to do in meditation is to be in that state of mind that is balanced, that is relaxed, but is also aware. I know a lot of times people think of meditation as this relaxation response, as Benson would say. I think that's only part of it. Because many times we can be relaxed, we can be really relaxed, really relaxed. That's not meditation. That's a nice nap. But usually we don't have the awareness component, which is important in meditation. So part of meditation is being relaxed, but also aware. And so that's why it's also important to be in the right posture, and we want to be kind of the back straight. Now, I know some of you brought cushions, so this is the time if you have a cushion and you want to go to the floor and the cushion. If you're in a chair, I'm going to recommend you to either be cross-legged or be with the feet on the ground. And instead of relaxing so much that you're resting on the back of the chair, I'm going to ask you to come a little forward so you're able to maintain your back straight, unless, of course, you have a back problem, and then use the back of the seat. So in that posture, I'm going to invite you to start observing your breath. So just breathe in and out, and let every breath be an invitation to be in the present moment. So if your mind gets distracted, just bring it back to the breath, into your body, support of the chair or cushion, ground, earth. Every breath keeps on inviting you to be here. Not in the past, not in the future. You feel comfortable with your breath. We're going to extend our back, straighten our back, lengthen our back, and if it's comfortable, even stretch your arms up, almost like wanting to grab the sky as you breathe. In and out. Try and breathe through your nose if possible as you stretch and breathe. Allow that breath to come not just into your lungs, but into your abdomen. As you stretch, you might feel some tensions in your back, and that's okay. Keep on stretching and breathing. When you're ready, allow your arms to slowly come down all the way to your knees, palms up, as you relax your shoulders and your back is still straight. And you keep on breathing. As you breathe, Notice that you can breathe beyond your lungs, coming a little lower towards your abdomen. You can even place one of your hands there. Notice that as you breathe in, the abdomen can expand, and as you breathe out, it can contract. Breathe in, expand. Breathe out, contract. Keep on breathing in that way, finding a rhythm that is comfortable. Bringing your hands comfortably on your lap, one on top of the other. We call this the equanimity posture, as we also open our elbows, because by doing that, we're opening our chest, opening our heart. Keep on breathing lower into your abdomen, back through your nose. Relaxing your shoulders, but the back is still straight. Relaxing your neck, but still straight. Relaxing your jaw. Many times we put a lot of tension there. Relax it. Relax your tongue. Place it in your upper palate or behind your teeth. And relax your eyes. They can be closed, but not too tight. Or open, looking to the tip of your nose and into the ground, a peaceful gaze. Out. Your mind gets distracted, just gently bring it back to your breath. Don't judge your distraction and don't criticize yourself for being distracted. Just gently come back to your breath. Breathing lower into your abdomen, back through your nose, at your own comfortable rhythm for a few moments. Your mind gets distracted, gently bring it back to your breath. No judgment, no criticism, just gently bring it back. Lower into your abdomen and back through your nose or mouth if needed. Back straight, shoulders relaxed, chest area open. Notice the stillness of your body. Supports that when your mind roams, you can bring it back. Breath lower into your abdomen, dropping into your body. It's difficult to focus on your breath. You can visualize it as light. And because it's air, we visualize it as green light related to the air element. Feeling not just the focusing, but really the nurturing of that green light, nurturing every cell of your body, nurturing you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And that as you breathe out, you let go what you don't need. That stress, that emotion, that thought. And breathe in again, that green nurturing light helps you focus. Support of the stillness of your body. Stillness. Straight your body, but also relax. Sense of still but open. You may even feel silence around you. Sometimes you feel the mind is being pulled by sounds. But instead, to feel the support of the vast silence as a doorway to your inner peace. With that silence, breathe into it. Become more aware of that support of the stillness and the silence. It's a sense of more awareness. The support of the light as you focus. You feel more awareness being like the sun being fully present. That openness in that sky, that heart-mind. That it feels open and aware. Breath, you connect. Openness, you may feel warmth that naturally there, warmth of your loving kindness, of your inner joy, of your compassion, of your peace of mind. You focus, you can feel that your heart is open and can share these qualities with your loved ones, with your family, with your friends, with other acquaintances. Patients and caregivers in our hospital, with doctors, teachers, co-workers, wherever you are, you can share those qualities. But because you're focused, you notice that you're not just sharing them with others, but also to yourself. So as you're giving, you're receiving. As you're nurturing, you're being nurtured with every breath. Maintaining that connectedness through the stillness. Through the silence. The openness. That warmth. Share with others and yourself. Every breath an opportunity to share, to be in touch with others and yourself. Be able to bring what you're becoming more familiar now, this state of mind. Not just during meditation, but in the rest of the day. Maintaining a sense of connectedness without opening your eyes if they're closed. Breathing, maintain connectedness. Without opening your eyes, you can take a moment to relax your body. Maybe straighten your leg, massage your knees, but don't focus on your legs, still focus on your breath. Relax your torso and your hips and your shoulders and your arms, and still slowly relax your neck and head, and maybe slowly you can open your eyes, maybe even open and close a few times as you integrate with the external world without losing touch of your inner home. So you do it slowly. Very slowly. So the idea is maintain connectedness. Even as we engage in everyday activities. So, at the end of the session, you actually will get a CD. When I'm in my classes at Anderson, I always give a CD, and track one always has an 11-minute practice. And I tell them, if you can, practice every day, in the same way that we say, your nutrition, your exercise, mind, body, and social support. So, practice 11 minutes a day. You can even put it in your calendar, right, in your agenda, and if you put it there, it's actually very useful. We say that securing the boundary, protecting. So then when your good friend calls you for coffee or lunch, when you put it there, it says, oh, I can't. Amongst all the meetings, this is a meeting with myself. It's an important meeting, honor it. And also, as you cultivate that state of mind during those 11 minutes, it's how do you bring it to the rest of the day? What happens the other 23 hours and 49 minutes? Are you still connected? So one thing that my teacher, Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche, would say is use meditation precious pills. And in a way, you can take them in two ways. Kind of the aspirin model would be, it hurts, you take the pill. Or you can think, I'm going to be stressed, I'm going to take the pill. The other way would be like an antibiotic. Right? You take it 4 times a day. You can have a beeper, and if you don't, take it with every meal. But just take a moment. Connect to that breath. And then we have different pills. Sometimes we connect more through the body. We call it the white pill. Sometimes we connect through the silence. We call it the red pill, and sometimes through the open-heartedness, the blue pill. Would be more. There's more and more about meditation. But I wanted to mention all these people, both from the Ligmincha side and MD Anderson, that help put all these classes and research together. And in a way, you don't have to go to the monastery to do these practices, right? You can. This is in Bhutan. But actually, you can come here. And our integrative medicine, you may recognize that nice doctor there, Dr. Lopez. And these are all the things that we have. We have the meditation in group classes. We have them in individual sessions. We have them also for faculty and staff, because they are saying, hey, we're also stressed. And we have actually resources for you. So we have a website where there are meditations there that you can have. This is our integrative medicine website. There's a place exactly with all the videos and audios. There's a meditation page. And of course, at the end of the day, as my teacher Lupon Tenzin Namda would say, it's about being happy, right? And so, before we go into the questions, I want to share something that I do with my children, that I'm really happy that they're here. They don't usually come to my talk, so it's nice to have you here. And so, when they were very young, I decided to do a prayer with them. A prayer that, in a way, it's non-denominational, but it's also based of our meditative tradition. And it goes like this. It says, I pray that all my actions of body, speech, and mind be for the benefit of all beings. All of my actions be good, and none of my actions be bad. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. And when we did it the first or the second time, they said, especially my daughter said, Let's do it. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. And usually that's how we finish. We hug and say good night with that. So thank you. Thank you very much. This is a photo actually from Mathieu Ricard, so I need to acknowledge that. So we have a few minutes. We have actually 11 minutes, like meditation. We have 11 minutes for questions. Any questions? Yes?
I'm wondering about the amount of time you spend meditating, like what you would get out of an 11-minute or 5-minute versus 11-minute versus an hour of meditation.
That's a very good question, and I can see Gabe smiling because we're trying to do a research on that. But one of the main things is that we cultivate that state of mind, meaning that we can be sitting for an hour, but it depends where our mind is. I could be like this, and I look like meditating, but I'm actually not. I'm thinking of what I'm going to do later today. So partly it's more important the quality of the meditation than the length, and also the ability that you are able to do. So if you're able to do 5 minutes of great meditation, that's what you should do, and then slowly increase the time. If you can do 10, do 10. If you can do 20, do 20. But also what's important is, let's say you don't have, today you can do half an hour, but today, wake up, you're a little late, you have an earlier meeting, you can't do that. Then don't blow it off. Don't say, oh, I don't have my half an hour, I can't do meditation. Do a 5-minute meditation. So every moment that you connect counts. That's why even these meditation pills are useful. And that's why in our website we also have 4-minute meditation. So you can do depending on your needs. But as you cultivating your capacity, you go slowly. We have a saying in Tibetan, kale, kale, slowly, slowly, you go increasing the time. And when you increase it, don't go from 5 minutes to 20 minutes. Go from 5 to 7. Kind of push yourself, but not too much, and see if it works. If it works, stay. If not, come back and slowly go increasing that.
Is there a right time of the day to meditate? When you first wake up, or when you're halfway through the day, stressed and need to?
So it's a good question, and I could answer it in 2 ways. So from the text, there are specific times that are better. However, these texts were written by people that they actually did their life around their meditation. So they looked, what are the best times to meditate? We'll do all the rest around that. And so that's usually before sunrise and at sunset. So now, for us, that we don't usually set our clock and our schedule around the meditation time, and we do the opposite. When can I find the meditation space? What I recommend is to actually do it whenever you have time. So let's say your best time is at noon. Then do it at noon. In fact, most of the meditations that I do for faculty and staff at the medical center are at noon. Not because it's the best time to meditate, it's because that's when they have time. Now, morning is good, especially before everyone else wakes up. Night can be good because also by the time they went to sleep, but you don't want to be the one also going to sleep in meditation. Because sometimes we get so tired and we're at night meditating and we do this. So we have to be careful. So find the right time for you and explore, see what works. Same question?
Dr. Chaoul, can you repeat the question just so everyone in the room can hear? Thank you.
Sorry. Yes?
How important is the position that you assume right now when you meditate? Is it okay to meditate like early in the morning when you're horizontal, still in bed? I seem to prefer that time the most.
Sure. So the question is the position of the body important, and that what about being just as soon as one wakes up and is still in the bed and lying down? So in a way, it's a good time. Again, what you need to be aware is, are you sleeping still or are you meditating, right? So if you're able to be awake and are maintaining awareness, then that's fine. If you're realizing that you're still going back to sleep, then you're sleeping. And the same thing happens, for example, in yoga, right? Many times we end the class with shavasana, right? Sometimes we call it the corpse posture. And, you know, after doing movements or postures, we lie down and it feels so relaxed. And I've heard many times in shavasana, that's the mantra of sleep. So as long as you're aware, that is fine. Yeah. Yes?
As I'm looking about, you're looking at meditation and the effects of chemotherapy and or anti-hormone therapy for breast cancer. And I'm wondering, do you look at the neurotransmitters and their action or anything like that? Or is it more also gross or behavioral?
So the question is, in the study with chemobrain, are we looking at the neurotransmitters? So at this point, we looked, in the first study, we looked at the psychological difference in memory. We did the Stroop test also that allows you to see the cognitive speed of the mind. But now what we're going to start looking at is actually through fMRI and EEG, looking at brain and different aspects of the brain. And one of our new faculty, Sarah Prinsloo, who's helping in this area, is looking particularly at different particular places of the brain where she feels that will have more impact, like the sound cortex and also the prefrontal cortex. So we'll look at different aspects and see. So we're looking into it. Yes. Excellent. So maybe we'll connect and see what we're doing. Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, wonderful. Collaborations are always wonderful. Yes, sir.
People who run long distances will often talk about reaching a meditative state or something similar to when they meditate. Is that a misnomer? Do they actually do that? Can you actually do that in the long run?
You can. And there's different meditative states. And sometimes that seems to be what sometimes they call kind of being in the flow. And so it is kind of being in the meditative state and allowing the action to help you. I know different activities, whether it's running, swimming, sailing, biking. Of course, you don't want to close your eyes. But also, what's important, I mean, you can be in that state. And what I would recommend is if you are a meditator, you cultivate that state and you bring that into that activity. And sometimes the breathing can help. So if you are breathing lower, which, you know, in meditation we usually breathe lower, as I was saying earlier, and you can bring that breath into that activity, it's another thing that may click, and actually it may even click the brain in that way. And we haven't looked into it, but it's just an hypothesis. Yeah. Great. So in your next marathon, we'll put a cap with an EEG and we'll look at the activity there. Excellent, excellent. Yeah. Any other question? Yes, sorry.
Along these two lines, you were saying breath, sound, would that be the physical you're talking about, or is that something other practices?
Sorry, could you repeat the question? Oh, so the question is when I was talking about meditation with breath, with sound, and with movement, if this would be something with movement. So in the class that I do know, the movements are specifically within a text of Tibetan yoga, which is part of what we did in the research and part of what was part of my dissertation. However, you bring up an important point, which is what we call integration into daily life. So, for example, if we are in that meditative state, can we be in that meditative state and move? So if I do this movement, let's say we call this kind of a virtues movement. Am I still in the meditative state or have I lost it? Or can I stand up and still be in the meditative state? Can I run and be in the meditative state? Or notice that I lose it. So that's another aspect of a practice of meditation that we call integration, and we do it with the body, we do it with sound. So for example, reciting what we call a virtues choir would be one of the 3 sounds, or a mantra, or talking normally would be a neutral, or saying something not nice would be also, can I still do that? Or, in the body one, can I do this and still be in that state of mind? And then in the mind, can I visualize something virtuous, maybe the faces of my teachers? Can I, something neutral, someone that I just met, and maybe something not negative, and so again, can I still be center if I do that? So those are aspects of that integration. Yes. Thank you. Any other question? Yes.
What's the relationship between yoga and meditation?
So what's the relationship between yoga and meditation? So yoga today is a big word, or a word that it's applied to many things. In general, traditionally it's a Sanskrit word, which means yug, which means the union. Many times considered the union between macrocosm and microcosm, and also between mind and body. And so the breath can be a very good link between that mind and body. And so if you think of yoga as a discipline, and if you're particularly talking about hatha yoga, which includes the physical aspects of the postures, usually in the traditional sense, you would have the parts that include the body or postures, asana, the parts that include the breathing or pranayam, and the aspects that include the mind of meditation. And so now today, yoga has been also appropriated in many gyms, for example, and many times they only think of the asana. That's only what we see. And so also modern yoga has taken a lot of this body part, and so only doing the asana. So there are, I have to admit that at the beginning I thought that that was bad. I would criticize it. But actually I think it's great because it's another doorway. So if the body is your doorway and you start by being doing asanas, and you want this, hot yoga or really active yoga, and that's your style, go for it. And then maybe after that you realize, maybe in the shavasana or in the pranayam, that suddenly, oh, okay, I also like this part. And so there's different doorways how to come in. But yoga in the more complete sense has all 3 parts of body, breath, and mind. Yeah.
Dr. Chaoul,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask if guests have other questions, please join you on the Water Garden Terrace for our reception.
We can integrate with the food over there.
Integrate with the food. For your excellent work tonight and for all you're doing for Houston, to the MD Anderson Cancer Center, Friends of Integrative Medicine, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking Dr. Chaoul for this evening.